10 a.m. on the East Coast of the United States, wherever you are tuning in from around the world. Happy Saturday. Welcome to another edition of Sports World Weekly. I'm Matthew Gillis. A little bit things different in Bahrain right now, where we should normally be in qualifying. A little change in the F1 schedule. They are finishing up free practice 3 right now. So whereas normally we come on air with what the grid will be for the Sahkir GP, you will not be able to get the grid out of us today because qualifying will happen about an hour after we go off of the air. But we will tell you all of the stories that are going on with the setup, especially the fact that Lewis Hamilton will not run the GP this weekend. He tested positive for coronavirus. George Russell will switch over to take the chair for the Mercedes 44 from Williams. But we do things a little bit differently today. As we get started, normally in the middle of a show, I do special guests, but I'm going to do this one at the beginning of the show today. And I welcome in the president of SFBN Rhode Island, the host of Roadie Sports Show, the host of Roadie Takeout Report, a man of many hats, Ron Robert. Ron, welcome to the show.
How you doing, Matt? Thanks.
So, you and I have co-hosted a lot of things together, and I've never had a chance to have you on my show. So I wanted to bring you in because as we go towards the end of this year, it's about that time that we all kind of sit down and start to reflect on 2020. And this has been one year that none of us, I think, really ever expected to see. And I just wanted to be able to get your thoughts on what 2020 has been like in the year of sports and what it's meant to us, even for those of us who work in sports media, to still be able to have sports in our lives, even with everything that's gone on this year.
Well, obviously, thanks for having me on the show. And, we have done a lot of good things together so far in 2020, and looks like 2021 is going to be a great year for the Sports Fan Base Network, Rhode Island. A lot of big things happening, but, we're trying to finish out 2020 strong. Our coverage of local sports obviously had to stop because, they put a shutdown on local high school sports up until January 4th. So, which is a big part of our business here at the Sports Fan Base Network, Rhode Island. And so we're playing the waiting game. I know that they have a meeting coming up on the 10th for the Interscholastic League to talk about, the decisions that are going to be made for winter sports. And I'm pretty confident that they'll have sports. I mean, the kids need it. There's a lot of good things that come with it. We all know. We could sit there and it's not anything anyone hasn't heard. With this whole COVID and the shutdown and everything, people saying how kids need sports for development and for social skills, leadership skills, college recruiting is down, and there's a gamut of things that, come along with it. So I'm not going to necessarily repeat all of them, but just that, I have high school kids myself. I have a kid in college. They all play sports. And watching them sit around the house, even with limited workouts, there's been some limited workouts, but, when it hit in March, it was really tough. And, a lot of senior kids lost their seasons in lacrosse and baseball, softball, freshmen that may have been, really good and probably could have played varsity as a freshman on their high school teams, didn't get that opportunity. So there's more than just a senior losing their season. There's a lot that goes along with it, but and that's just local. Well, we got to talk about professional sports as well, right? I mean, the crazy schedule in the NFL, the NBA bubble. I just being a homer a little bit, a pink hat, but the horrible year Boston had in sports, which is in the last 20 years, unfounded. So just what a crazy year for everybody, Matt.
Yeah. And in fact, I mean, you related to that. And then it was also that kind of ties into something that I did for the network, which was that article that I wrote about, the year that 2020 was in Boston sports. And, Red Sox don't play in the postseason. The Bruins get bounced out in the second round. The Celtics get bounced out, in the conference finals. The Patriots are, having their worst season since Bill Belichick's first year as a head coach.
Yeah.
And so, for Boston, the two shining moments of the entire Boston year in sports has been the Boston Cannons winning the Major League Lacrosse Championship, and the New England Revolution are in the Eastern Conference Finals against Columbus Crew tomorrow. And it's kind of weird that, in a way, it's sort of the two niche market sports to Boston's 6 majors are the ones that are having the successful seasons.
Right. Well, we're seeing it in high school too, right? Because football usually gets the shine in high school sports, and soccer kind of gets the back seat. But because football was canceled, soccer was able to, come to the street front. And, we know that because we live streamed a bunch of soccer games here in Rhode Island. You came up and helped us out, did a great job. And, those opportunities for those kids, that's something that no one's talking about, because unfortunately it's at the expense of others. But, some great opportunities for different sports to catch a shine in the fall that normally would be overseen by football, because our network is football driven. I mean, most networks are football driven. Football is the number one sport in the country, whether it be pro, college, or high school. So, you want to latch on to that because it's going to drive your business. But we were flexible and adaptable, and we went where we needed to be. And we saw some great stuff that we might not have seen. We keep talking about the crazy penalty kick saves by the goalie from the Mount Hope High School Huskies, and then he scores the goal as well in the PKs. We saw a couple great, goals scored by some exciting players in Rhode Island high school soccer, boys and girls alike. We got some field hockey action. We got, so there's these things that there is a shining light on. That is some of the sports that would have been overshadowed by football were able to get a look.
Yeah. But I think, also one of the things is that a lot of people have talked about in 2020 is content has been key. And it's been a kingmaker for a lot of companies and a lot of networks. When I joined 7 months ago, I think we had 2, maybe 3 podcast shows. We have 16 shows live streamed on the network now.
Yeah.
What does it say about not just the people we've been able to bring on board, but everything we've been able to do to make that many shows happen and build us for 2021?
Well, I think we're not the only company that probably came into existence during COVID. So there's a lot of people that lost their jobs during COVID, right? And people said, okay, well, there's not much that I can do. Sorry about that, but there's not much I can do right now. So let me see. Maybe I had a passion I wanted to follow. Maybe I had an idea that I wanted to give a shot. And what better time to do it, right? But that's not where we stem from, obviously. But I don't think it, in our end, I think that it almost helped us a little bit to build the network, because we may, obviously live streaming is part of our business as well. And the live streaming basically disappeared for a while. So what we did is we said, okay, we need to stay relevant. We need to grow. It's time to grow our company. And I mean, that's, I had a radio show in Providence for a few years. It did really well. Radio is finicky. So decided to go the podcast route like most people are doing. And then, here we are. We're going to launch our 17th show this next week coming up. There's a couple shows that have fallen off that are going to come back. So we should be right around 20 shows before 2021. And then, our sports rating has really taken off, where it wasn't even a thing that we were basically focusing on at first. Now we have 8 to 10 people writing articles at between every 1 and 2 weeks. The articles are bringing thousands of views in every marking period, and you know that because you've helped me collect the data, the analytics for the marking period. So that part of our business has started to boom, and we're seeing people that are reaching out to us saying, "Hey, we'd love to write for you." And our motto is for the fans, by the fans. So if you think that you got what it takes to be a sports writer, or maybe you have a great idea for a podcast and you want to talk about maybe launching it, give us a DM, shoot us a DM, send us an email, contact@sfbnri.com. We're always looking to bring on new talent. We just brought on a couple more interns, a couple new sports writers. People are shifting around. So I think that for our company, it's been actually great. It's kind of unbelievable, to be honest with you. And I say kudos to you, Matt, and thank you for a lot of your help. But the whole team out there has been doing such a fantastic job. We have Mason behind the scenes doing a ton of work. We had Laura Crusoe, who did a ton of work for us. Nick LeBlanc has been doing, he's been stepping up extra work. Tons of great podcast hosts. Matt Morocco has done all our logos. And he has a show on the network. So, I know I'm going to leave people out, and because there's so many now. I mean, we're close to 30 people working for the company right now. And, that's going to bring us, once you're over 50 people inside the company, you move to the next level of a business model. So we're actually growing to that point. I think, Matt, you're moving to Rhode Island, right?
That's correct. This is the last Sports World Weekly show that will be hosted from the remote studio in South Jersey. The next show of Sports World Weekly will be from Rhode Island, officially in the Ocean State, full time.
So you'll actually have a Rhode Island show, Matt, on Sports Fan Base Network Rhode Island, which is funny to think that we're spread out like that. So again, people don't realize that we've kind of gone national, and we have a lot of room to grow. But we're on the Detroit Food Network. We have writers in Seattle and California. We have podcast hosts New Jersey, Boston, Tampa, right? So both of our hosts down in Florida. Obviously, a lot of Rhode Island-based people working for us as well. We had someone in New York. So it's it's pretty crazy. New Hampshire might be coming on board. So there's it's nice to, I don't even feel like we've taken over Rhode Island yet. So that's, maybe we're a little premature, but there's a lot of interest in what we're doing, and a lot of people go to the website now that, Matt, you've done a lot of work with. It looks fantastic. They go check it out. And we had Yori before you, who helped us basically launch the site, which I couldn't thank him enough for that. He did a great job to get us going. And it's attractive to people now. People are taking a look at it. So 17 shows by next week, hopefully 20 before the end of the year. We have some premieres coming out pretty soon. We'll be pumping out great sports articles and human interest and entertainment articles. Probably at least 10 articles a week. So we're moving in that direction. And the live streaming, here's the problem, Matt. What are we going to do? January 4th is coming, and if everything goes as planned, we're already committed. I don't want to call the schools out yet, but if I can at least give one for sure, that if we have winter sports, that we'll be the proud live streamer of Bishop Hendricken High School hockey, which is a huge program in this area and all New England, actually. So that's a big move for us. We'll have Cranston West Wrestling. we'll exclusively have them. So we'll have a lot of stuff. I mean, there's going to be more. There's a lot of schools showing interest. I think that we're going to be so busy with live streaming that it's gonna take the company to the next level.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot looking forward to for 2021. I'm going to run out of time on this segment, but I got one last question for you. Yep. What do you think might be the biggest sports story in 2021? Who do you think might be the surprise?
Oh boy, there's so much. I mean, I thought that the Miami Heat going to the finals and beating the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals, to me, the Celtics were the team. That was a huge upset to me. I mean, other people out there won't say that. Jimmy Butler's obviously amazing, but the Celtics were packed, right? They should have moved forward. There's teams that are playing with a there was an NFL team this past week, I think the Broncos, that had no quarterback healthy on the roster, and they were playing a practice team wide receiver as their quarterback.
Yeah, who was a former college quarterback, so
right,
at least he had a little bit of
team wide receiver in the NFL. I don't know if we've ever seen that.
Yeah.
The NBA bubble was just something out of a movie, right? It's like out of a science fiction movie.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. Obviously the fall of Boston sports in 2020 overall. Now the Patriots are still moving forward. I mean, they're squeaking games out. You don't know. The season's not over yet. You might see it. I mean, Miami, and the other thing is Miami Dolphins. It's not even the Buffalo Bills that everyone, that's going to probably end up on top of the AFC East. The Miami Dolphins are with them neck and neck right now. And so that's kind of an interesting story. I mean, Brady moving to Tampa Bay, taking Gronk, getting all these guys to sign with him. Then Antonio Brown. I mean, that's a big story, but they haven't made it come to fruition yet there. But I'm telling you what, I've been saying this from the beginning. That team is a playoff team. That team is built to win in the playoffs. So we've seen this before with some teams like that through the regular season. They go up and down, up and down. It's like a roller coaster. But then they hit the playoffs and there's no stopping them. There's too much experience. So, that's a pretty big story. I mean, there's so many. I can't even think of all of them. But Major League Baseball was a disgrace this year. I mean, at least the NBA, the NFL, I think they did a very good job of producing it with no fans. On TV, you can watch it, and it's almost like it's normal. It's kind of close. Right, but the Major League Baseball, it was horrible. I couldn't even watch a game. It was horrible. And then they had all the fake fans behind the home plate. I mean, they didn't do a very good job with it. It was just really bad. I mean, the NBA at least has digital fans in the stand. It's a weird look, but it looks kind of sleek and new.
Yeah, we've seen the NBA do that. We saw WWE has done that with their Thunderdome thing.
Yeah. Well, I don't really talk. I don't really watch WWE, so I don't know. But yeah, that and the biggest story for 2020 probably has to be the creation of our network for me. It's been great. I love my team. We have just like some of the best people working for us right now. Everyone's passionate, committed. They're kind. Everyone helps each other out and works with each other. So if there's anyone on the team watching the show or anyone that's going to come back to it like later on, kudos to all of you, because we built one heck of a team. And if we keep moving forward with this and expanding on it, there's no stopping us.
Yeah, it's definitely been an interesting year in sports, but an interesting year for us as a network as we wrap down towards the end of the year. Ron Robert, president of SFBN Rhode Island, thanks so much for joining the show today.
Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it. Good luck with the rest of your show.
Absolutely. Thank you. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. You're watching Sports World Weekly on SFBN Rhode Island. Welcome back to Sports World Weekly on the Sports Fan Base Network, Rhode Island. The bizarre year in sports continues, and it continues into Formula One. Checkered flag has flown at free practice session 3 in advance of qualifying for the Sahkir GP. It is Max Verstappen on P1, 54.064. Valtteri Bottas follows him at 0.206 right behind. And then Pierre Gasly in the AlphaTauri, interestingly, in P3, 0.363 to conclude the practice sessions, qualifying 1 hour, 37 minutes away. As we take a look at the results from FP3, as that is now in the books, Esteban Ocon coming in at 4th, Lando Norris at 5th, and then Alex Albon in 6th. George Russell, Mr. Saturday. And so many people have talked about what happens if you get Russell out of a Williams and into a legitimate, hard-running F1 car. What can George Russell actually do? Here's your proof. Lewis Hamilton tests positive for COVID-19. He has to quarantine. He is not able to race. He says he is experiencing light symptoms, but other than that, he is okay. He tested negative 3 times before testing positive the other day. So it's a very interesting situation of how quickly this develops. But the Mercedes team reached out to George Russell. They reached out to the Williams team. They got agreement from Russell to come over to Mercedes for today's qualifying and then tomorrow's race of the Sahkir GP in Bahrain. Free practice session 3, George Russell, 54.664 for 7th place. This is a guy who normally is somewhere in the bottom 5 and may not necessarily make it out of Q2 in qualifying. Now he is 0.6 of a second slower than Max Verstappen. Let's put that into comparison. George Russell in Lewis Hamilton's car with Lewis Hamilton's crew ran just 0.6 slower than Max Verstappen, one of the 3 best drivers in the world. That, my friends, is the definition of putting a talented driver like George Russell into a well-built car like the number 44 Mercedes. Now, we are not saying that because of this being the thing that all of a sudden George Russell's going to replace Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes. By no means are we saying that this is what's happening. But it also begs an interesting question because Lewis Hamilton's contract is up at the end of the season. There's only one more race to go in this season. After tomorrow, it's the Yas Marina race at Abu Dhabi. Williams is in a bit of a tiff right now because their team just got sold. It's going to be a new team under a new name, new ownership, new management next year. Could we possibly see George Russell end up full-time with Bono and Wolff at Mercedes if Lewis Hamilton steps aside from Formula One after clinching his record-tying 7th world championship and now sitting on 95 career wins, a record? He also has the most poles, most laps led ever in F1 history, and the most podium finishes in F1 history. Sure, Lewis Hamilton probably wants to get an 8th world championship so that he can have the best record in everything. But it certainly says that the young guns are talented. Look at Ocon. Look at Norris. Look at Gasly. Look at George Russell in a Mercedes. 6/10 slower than one of the best drivers in the world in the Red Bull Racing Honda of Max Verstappen. It's going to be a very interesting Saturday for George Russell, who is always known and nicknamed as Mr. Saturday. Pre-practice 3 complete at the Bahrain circuit. Qualifying coming up just a little bit over an hour from now. We're going to take a very quick break, and we will be right back on Sports Fan Base Network Rhode Island. Welcome back to Sports World Weekly on SFBN Rhode Island. Matt Gillis with you here. Back a couple of months ago, when we were doing our Premier League and Champions League previews leading into the beginning of the season, I said Red Bull Leipzig was a team to look out for. I continue to stand by that. Why? Because if you look at Red Bull Leipzig, right now, they are tied in Group H with Manchester United and Paris Saint-Germain. Now, Paris Saint-Germain just beat Manchester United 3-1 on Wednesday to bring them level on 9 points in the group. Red Bull Leipzig beat Istanbul Başakşehir 4-3 to bring them level on 9 points in the group. Red Bull Leipzig's next game is against Manchester United. Here's the way this is going to end up playing out. And as bizarre as it might sound, should Red Bull Leipzig win against Manchester United, they could win the group. Should Manchester United and Red Bull Leipzig draw, we could go into a very interesting tiebreaker situation. But one way or another, we hold our point. Red Bull Leipzig is the team to watch in Champions League. As mentioned, Leipzig beat Istanbul Başakşehir on Wednesday 4-3. Krasnodar got past the French champions Rennes 1-0. The aforementioned Manchester United Paris Saint-Germain match. Paris Saint-Germain got that one 3-1. There was a red card issued into that game to Fred in the 70th minute, meaning he will miss Manchester United's last group stage game. Dortmund and Lazio drawing 1-1. Barcelona had no problems with Fenerbahce, and Juventus easily dispatching Dinamo Kyiv 3-0. Club Brugge over Zenit 3-0, and then Chelsea having absolutely no concerns whatsoever with Sevilla getting past them 4-0. Tuesday, group stage match day 6 of 6, the final of group stage play. Zenit against Dortmund, Lazio and Club Brugge, Barcelona, Juventus, the match that many people have circled from the beginning. It will define both of them in the group, where they will go from here. Chelsea and Krasnodar, Red Bull Leipzig and Manchester United, as we just mentioned, Dinamo Kiev against Fenerbahce. Paris Saint-Germain has Istanbul Başakşehir. Rennes against Sevilla. Michelin against the Reds, the English Premier League champions Liverpool. Ajax and Atalanta in the battle of legendary clubs, trying to find their way back to the promised land. Bayern Munich against Lokomotiv Moscow. Real Madrid and Mönchengladbach. Red Bull Salzburg and Atletico Madrid. Manchester City takes on Olympique Marseille. Inter Milan against Shakhtar Donetsk, and Olympiacos against Porto, in two teams that have seen Champions League glory, again trying to find their way back. Where the standings go and what makes these games so interesting: Bayern Munich easily on their way to clinching Group A. They are sitting on 13 points, but Atletico Madrid and Red Bull Salzburg are only separated by 2 points, and Lokomotiv Moscow could pull an upset. They are only 3 points behind. So the second stage play there, or the second stage for Group A, who can go in out of first place decided. Bayern Munich has it. Second place for the second spot is up for grabs. Third place, which gets you a Europa League qualification, is up for grabs. So anyone could possibly win there. Group B is in a complete total upheaval. Anyone's game. Mönchengladbach currently leads on 8 points. Shakhtar Donetsk and Real Madrid are tied at 7, but Inter Milan, even though they are in last place right now of the 4 teams in the group, is only 2 points behind. So match day 6 goes crazy there. In Group C, it is again a situation where it is possible Man City and Porto can potentially flip spots depending on how their results go. Manchester City has Olympique Marseille. Should be no problem for them there. They should get past. Porto and Olympiacos have a tie there. Porto should get past, but should somehow Manchester City slip up against Olympique Marseille and Porto wins, it would create a tie between Man City and Porto, and we go into a tiebreaker situation there. But we should see Manchester City and Porto onto the next round. Olympiacos heading to the Europa League, and Marseille getting eliminated. Group D, that has Liverpool, has them on their way into the knockout round. They cannot slip any further, so they will clinch first place. It is a toss between Atalanta and Ajax, who have to play against each other as to who will get the second spot. Winner of that match will get the second spot and advance because they are separated by 1 point. The loser of that match will go to the Europa League. If it is a draw, it will stay at Atalanta going forward, and Ajax into the Europa League. Chelsea and Sevilla only separated by 3 points. Possibility that should Sevilla pull the upset, they could tie out Chelsea. If Chelsea were to draw, they would go on in first place. Sevilla would end up in second. Krasnodar and Rennes are third and fourth. Now, however, if Rennes were to win, they could tie Krasnodar, and then there would end up being a break there to see who goes into Europa League. Dortmund, Lazio, and Bruges in Group F, all three with a possibility of the fact that one or two of them, especially between Lazio and Bruges, could be going on into the second round of champions, one going into Europa League. Dortmund should, even though sitting at 10 points, be able to find their way in to at least that second spot, heading off into Champions League, the second round. Group G, which we said was the Barca Juventus group, and then two other teams that are just playing because they needed 4 teams, clearly has shown that as the case. Barcelona sitting on 15, Juventus on 12 right now. Of course, Barcelona and Juventus play each other on match day 6. Dynamo Kyiv and Fenerbahce only able to pull draws, allowing them 1 point each. They have one draw each against each other. They have lost their other matches, therefore putting them all the way down. Dynamo Kyiv will go to Europa League should they be able to beat Fenerbahce. If it is a draw, it will give them equal, and then there'll be countbacks to see how that goes. And then we close it out with Group H. As we mentioned, this is the who wants it, anybody can have it group. Paris Saint-Germain, Manchester United, Red Bull Leipzig, all at 9. Red Bull Leipzig plays against Manchester United. Paris Saint-Germain has Istanbul Başakşehir. If Manchester United loses to Red Bull Leipzig and Paris Saint-Germain beats Istanbul Başakşehir, Manchester United will be out of Champions League. They will get the Europa League qualification spot and head into stage play in that competition. But it is possible that you could see a Paris Saint-Germain and Red Bull Leipzig advancing from the Group H spot. Lots of crazy developments. That is Champions League, and that is, in a sense, a nutshell of this new format that Champions League has played this year, with having everything sort of squished into this 3-4 week period rather than being stretched out over months. But it will still go through the season as we look forward to a hopeful completion of the tournament in Istanbul, Turkey in May. One more break here on Sports World Weekly on SFPN Rhode Island. We'll be right back. Promo there for our show, Tom Gronkowski Show, featuring Ruth the Truth and Coach Jay Morgan, catching you up on everything going on with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, Antonio Brown, a part of that squad now. As you heard our network president, Ron Robert, mention his thoughts on that earlier in the show, and we invite you to tune in and check out all the things going on from the Sunshine State, the world of Tampa, Florida. The Tom Gronkowski Show with Ruth the Truth and Coach Jay Morgan. And I thank you, Ruth, for tuning in this morning. I saw your Twitter message. Appreciate the love from all of our fellow show hosts. Couple of matches in the Premier League today. Burnley at Everton. That game ended up in a 1-1 draw. Manchester City currently up 2-0 over Fulham. That is late in the first half. Other games in action today: Manchester United away to West Ham, Chelsea and Leeds United in a very interesting tie, before a slew of matches tomorrow featuring Crystal Palace at West Brom, Leicester City, the Foxes heading to Sheffield United, Arsenal and Tottenham, Wolves at Liverpool, Brighton, and Southampton. Arsenal and Tottenham, the North London derby. Always something great to see. Next week, don't forget there are 3 days of play for the Premier League, as there is the Friday match between West Ham and Leeds before a set of matches on Saturday and a set of matches on Sunday. And then my favorite week of the year, the week leading into Christmas, when you essentially get Premier League action every single day. There will be games on Tuesday the 15th, Wednesday the 16th, Thursday the 17th. There are games on Saturday the 19th. There are games on Sunday the 20th, and then on the 21st. And then we take a pause for a moment while we celebrate the Christmas holiday before the best day in football. And when I'm saying football, I mean football, as it is called in the rest of the world. The Boxing Day extravaganza that has a set of unbelievable matches. If you are a soccer fan, football fan, we'll call it football because that is what it is everywhere else in Europe. Park yourself in front of your television set early in the morning. If you're on the East Coast, I'm talking about 7:30 a.m. Manchester United, Leicester City kicks it off before you get Southampton and Fulham, Crystal Palace, Aston Villa, Chelsea, Arsenal, Newcastle, Man City, Everton, Sheffield United, Burnley, Leeds United, Brighton and West Ham, West Brom, Liverpool, Tottenham, Wolves complete the Boxing Day and day following match day 15 in the Premier League. I cannot wait. I can tell you that is one of my favorite days out of the year. Tottenham Hotspurs are the current top of the table recipients. They are in a virtual tie, sitting on 21 points with the defending champions Liverpool. Chelsea in third place at 19. Manchester City, who currently leads 2-0 in their match over Fulham, will be on 18 as that result should hold. Leicester City in fifth, also sitting on 18. It is sometimes a little shocking as we are now 10, 11 matches into the season, when you look and see teams like Manchester United down in 10th, when you see Arsenal down in 13th. I understand West Brom, Burnley, and Sheffield United being in the relegation zone. But Leeds United is in 12th. Just 4 points out of qualifying spots for Europe. After 30-some years not being in the Premier League, Leeds United is having a better season than Arsenal. I love Miguel Arteta. But seriously, if you're a Gunners fan, when do you start to become concerned about this run of form? You are 4 wins, 1 draw, 5 losses, 10 games into the season. Arsene Wenger would be blowing up the locker room if this happened. It's clear these are not your dad's Gunners. For the young guns who are watching. For those of us old heads, we remember Arsene Wenger. We want him back. But Tottenham at the top of the table. The rest of it looks normal. Liverpool, Chelsea, Man City. Leicester City in 5th. West Ham in 6th. Southampton in 7th. Wolves are in 9th ahead of Manchester United. This shocks a lot of people who follow the Premier League. The stats are all over the place. Dominic Calvert-Lewin has 11 goals in Everton's 10 matches. Everyone thought Bruno Fernandes was the answer in Manchester United. He has only 7. Tied for 5th place. Bruno Fernandes has as many goals in the first 10 games of the season as Patrick Bamford does for Leeds United. Let's put that in perspective. Bruno Fernandes, the $60 million man, has as many goals in 10 games for Manchester United as Patrick Bamford does for Leeds. And I know I just made my friend Rich Wade very happy by mentioning Patrick Bamford's name and the fact that he is one of the top 5 goal scorers in the Premier League. No surprises in terms of who's leading in assists. Harry Kane sitting on 9. Kevin De Bruyne, Jack Grealish, John McGinn, Lucas Digne, Marcus Rashford. No surprises there. But really, when you look at the fact that Everton, Leicester, Newcastle, and Leeds United have the top 5 goal scorers in the Premier League, I don't think this is 2020. I think this is a shift that has occurred where now we have woken up to the realization that it is a different Premier League. There are different teams that are competitive now, and we are in for some very exciting football through the rest of 2020 and into 2021. We're going to take a final break as we're going to wrap up the show. You're watching Sports World Weekly on SFBN Rhode Island. Welcome back to Sports World Weekly on SFBN Rhode Island. Matt Gillis with you here. We are going to take a moment to put a bow on the show and let you know, of course, tune in Sunday, 3 p.m., New England Revolution in the Eastern Conference Finals for Major League Soccer against the Columbus Crew. That is a legacy game. Both the Revs and the Crew, 2 of the original clubs of Major League Soccer in its 25th season. It is kind of great to see 2 of the legacy clubs facing off against each other in the Eastern Conference semifinals. Celtics finally get underway with preseason action. First match for them will be on December 15th. The first part of the NBA schedule has dripped out. A lot of amazing matchups, a lot of amazing games on that. If you want to hear more about what I think of the schedule, go on our YouTube page, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, wherever you can find it. Go to sfbnri.com and click live shows and podcasts, and you can be able to go back and view yesterday's, and that's the game episode, because I went through the NBA schedule during that. So there was my NBA breakdown preview. We are still waiting to find out from the NHL for certain when the 2021 season will begin. They originally had talked about trying to come in at Christmas. Then they said early January. Now it's looking like they're potentially saying maybe late January to early February. We are hoping to get an update later this week from Commissioner Gary Bettman. Hopefully we'll have some news related to a start date, and then from the Bruins organization shortly after that to where training camp and preseason games will go into play. Red Sox season still a long way off until we get to truck day, until we get to spring training, until we get to meaningful games, and a lot of work to be done in the free agency market. But Alex Cora is back in the dugout. Hopefully he will have his hand on the button in the last of the free agency periods and see if we can pull together a Red Sox team. Patriots, of course, in action this week at the Rams at SoFi Stadium. They are able to play games in Los Angeles. It is only the Bay Area, Santa Clara County, and the San Francisco 49ers that are affected by it. So that is why the 49ers are playing their next two games in Arizona, where the Cardinals will not be home. So they are able to move into State Farm Stadium and play their games there. We are still, of course, way off from many of the other sports that will be even happening. WNBA has not even discussed a schedule yet. National Lacrosse League for indoor lacrosse is talking about March, maybe April. We will see. We have been trying to get a hold of people in the NLL for updates on that, and we will keep on working on it to bring that to you and what will be going on with New England Black Wolves season, especially for those of you in our network home base region. That's it for me, and that's it for this edition of Sports World Weekly. Thank you so much for letting us into your homes during these interesting and difficult times. Stay safe, socially distance, wear a mask, wash your hands, listen to the public health professionals. We'll all pull through this together, and we'll be in a stadium cheering on our favorite teams and players very soon. Until then, thank you so much for the past 7 months of your fandom and fellowship on SFBN Rhode Island. I am thrilled and privileged to sign off this show, our last, from our mobile studios in Southern New Jersey, as we pack the boxes, pack the bags, and head to the Ocean State full time. Our next broadcast of Sports World Weekly will come to you from our new home in Rhode Island. Thank you so much for everything. Take care. I'll see you next Saturday. But before then, I will see you 4 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday, for And That's the Game. Good night.